What's up, everybody? So we're back with another episode of the Swift Podcast. Today, I bring on a former colleague, great friend, director, and owner of Pro Level Training, motivational speaker, father, professional athlete, and much more. I bring on Joel Green. So, Joel, welcome to the show, man.
Man, thanks. I appreciate it, Skid.
How are you, brother? It's been a while, man. I look back at our NJAC days, and I'm pretty sure I used to pick on Joel for his height, this giant monster coming in, and I would always be like, man, I'm a midget compared to you. How you've come a long way since those days. So give me a rundown. How's things? How's everything?
Man, things been busy, man. I miss those days, back in the day, man. That was a great time, man. Worked with a lot of positive people.
Yeah,
It's been a busy road since, man. A busy road,
yeah.
to say the least. Just furthering business, for my company, and I'm a national director for Nike Sports Camps too. So, just the duality of the two, we're helping each other grow. So I'm helping Nike to grow. They're helping my business and my company to grow. So it's busy, but it's a great busy, man. It's better than being bored.
Yeah, absolutely. And I remember back in our NJAC days, and you're coming from ball into training. I looked at the programming and stuff, and now you're in this whole side of like motivational speaking, and you just did your TED talk. So we got a lot to dive into. So talk to me about pro level training and the next level you've been doing for the basketball organizations and the youth population you've hit and what you've done for the youth. And I know you're a father, your boy's growing up and he's rocking it. So talk to us, how's that been through the pandemic? How's that been through in the last couple of months? And you're still doing a great job. So you're still thriving out there.
Thanks, man. Thanks. I appreciate it, man. It's been a whole lot of pivoting, to say the least. So as soon as the pandemic began to even, come about, like early on. I'm talking, early on for us over here in America, talking about mid-February toward the beginning of March when we began to hear things. I was on the phone with partners during that first week of March, and they're saying, hey, we don't know what this is, but things might have to get canceled soon. And I just remember us starting to talk like, okay, well, maybe we should do something online. We weren't even saying Zoom at that point, but we were saying, what can we do online? Everybody wasn't saying Zoom just yet.
Yeah.
We were talking early as far as something. And just, we have to be ahead of the game as far as, Nike and what we offer, myself as a trainer, as a coach, and what I offer, how can I still exist? I thrive off of in-person training and camps and things of that sort. So, we had to just pivot, man, and figure out ways to still be able to hit the masses, hit the youth. For myself, speaking wise, I'm used to being on a stage in front of people. Like, how am I going to do that? And, I just had to literally sit down at my desk and with a pencil and some paper. I didn't even want to type anything up. I literally sat down with a pencil so I can erase some things and ideas. And just started drawing up some game plans. And, I immediately went outside when outside was still open, fully, and filmed about 60 drills. And I said, okay, we might need these. And let alone things shut down some weeks later. And we were ahead of the game. I was able to offer virtual basketball training and put on virtual basketball camps immediately, like in March. While people were kind of complaining, it was like, okay, well, we got this for you. And it was difficult, but, we had to pivot.
That's awesome, man. And way to be ahead of it. I think that's where a lot of people struggle, is kind of getting ahead of the pandemic. And I agree. What do you happen when war hits? And for Joel, when war was hitting, he was already one step ahead of it. And he's always been that guy. I gave it to his height because he's always one step taller than me because he launches forward. But that's great, man. And then now you're in this whole level of motivation. I believe you started the Minute Motivation, and I kind of stole that idea from you. I've been doing some of that stuff on YouTube myself, but I loved it. I loved the energy, and that was you, man. Like, you were always that person. We went to work, smile on his face, always laughing, no matter what we said, and that was the positive energy that you always presented, and you're still presenting. Even when the pandemic hits, you found a resource for all these kids to essentially still work with you, be in front of you, and you started doing all these things virtually, and you still had that same positive aura. And that's why I brought you on, is to spread that positivity. So I want to ask you, in terms of your eyes and your two vision and what you believe, what do you believe is the true definition of motivation?
The true definition of motivation. Great question. I mean, I would say anything that, again, let's break the word down. All right. So motivation, motive is in there, right? Something that gets you to move. So that's how it is for me. Many times from my end, people may call it motivation. I'm looking to inspire and to motivate at the same time, by way of inspiration, something that's going to make you think, simply put. I don't have to make you move right away. If I can make you think on how to move, then you'll motivate yourself. So, but again, when it comes down to motivation, man, anything that can get you to move, that can, light the fire underneath you behind and say, okay, let me get up and do something. You know what? I'm tired of what I've been doing or what I haven't been getting. Let me go get something else now.
That's awesome. And what's your motivation factor? What's motivating you to do what you're doing? Because you're doing a lot, man. And I know you're a busy guy, and there's a lot on your plate. So what's that fire? What's that fire fuel? I know your son's definitely a big part of it. Aside from him, what else is kind of lighting everything inside of you to make that impact, make that difference?
Well, when you said my son, you probably said 90% of it. I mean, literally, my whole objective is to teach him the game.
Yeah.
By me saying the game, I'm saying everything that I've learned in life, period. Every pitfall that I've experienced, I want to teach them how to not just avoid them, but how to handle them when they come. They come. You know what I mean? So it's not about saying, okay, here, I'm going to lay over the pitfall so you can walk over my back every single time. I want to teach them how to get around him. I want to teach him, if he gets in it, how to dig himself out of it, how to get out of those situations. So, everybody has their pitfalls in some form or fashion. And if I can, deliver that game to him, that's what I'm doing. So, I mean, he's the primary reason. Outside of that, I love the feeling of success. And when I say success, you can break that down to fulfillment. Mm-hmm. So I love being fulfilled from the energy that I put out there, from my effort, my output. I know there's nothing like putting a whole lot of energy into something and then seeing a return on it. You know what I'm saying? Like, whether that be, helping somebody, let's say for you, like helping somebody to use their body at full function again. Yeah. That feeling is like, man, okay, they come to you and say, man, I don't feel it anymore. I don't feel that pain anymore. There's nothing like that type of fulfillment. It's like, man, what I'm doing is worth it. Like, what that energy that I'm putting out there, that effort, no matter how much it is, and it may be a whole lot, but it's worth it in the end. So that's what it's a driving force for me, man. It's like, I love that. I love being fulfilled, and I love impact. So if I can impact people with my words or with my physical action, I'm doing it.
Yeah, dude, I love that you said that, right? And I feel the same gratitude now. I left training. I'm still training, but primarily I'm in physical therapy now. And I love the feeling you get when a patient comes to you at their worst stage of life, that injury, and then you turn them into some sort of like, not a legendary athlete, but like they move like they're athletic, and you put it, and that fulfillment within is what drives me to continue doing what I'm doing. And I'm going to kind of use that motive to kind of have you tell people on, you and I both know we've dealt with a lot of failures in life. And I had a conversation with a friend of mine and what failure does for me, and I'll share that after. But there have been moments in your life where you were unsuccessful and I was unsuccessful. What do you take failure as?
I mean, I tell, people, when I'm talking about failure at any time, I let them know that failure should never be an endpoint. It's a midpoint, first and foremost. It's only truly, in my eyes, a true failure if it is your endpoint, if it stops you. It's a part of the process. If you're failing at something, it probably just means you're trying. You're trying to get something done. You know what I'm saying? And it's, for me, I'm an athlete, so you can say like you win some and you learn some. Like, I don't take a true loss. Like if I failed at a number of things, but in the end, I try to get away from that thinking of, oh, I failed, as opposed to, what can I take from that? There's a seed in every failure, you know what I'm saying? So that's where my eyes, my mind goes to, and I've practiced to have my mind shift to that immediately. You know, I've been again, I've failed a ton, man. I've had objectives and goals and have come short.
Yeah.
So, you know, we can say that, yeah, I failed. But they don't upset me like they used to. It's more so like, okay, this ain't the end, so I'm good, you know.
And that's where I was at, right? So I remember when you were working with us, I've got rejected a few times from PT school, right? And I remember having conversations with you and other guys. And I'm like, guys, I got rejected. I'm like, all right, so what's the plan? What's the next step? And I always admire, and I always want to teach people is like, it's a midpoint, right? I was like, dang, I really got rejected, but does it make you the person, right? But my value as a human being still exists. I have the same knowledge base, I have the same morals, same aura that I'm presenting out there. I just didn't complete this task. So how am I going to get there? So failure was my fuel source and motivation to continue on. Right. Exactly. It was like that desire within is like, why do they want me? I belong there. I know I want to get there. How can I get there? And I know I've seen some of your content. You talked about it a few times. And I had a friend that I was discussing with. I was like, yo, perfect guy to give me some other insights on it. So let's talk that transition. So you're a business owner, you're a motivational speaker. How's that energy is the same. You're the same person, oral wise, if not more positive and more vibrant than I'd met you the first time I met you. And I haven't seen you in a couple of years, but I feel like I haven't really left your life from everything I'm seeing and everything you're doing. And that's that positive vibe that you want to instill. And I say with other guys. So how's that transition been for you from business owner to speaker and like kind of balancing everything and being a father figure, especially for your boy and getting him on the right footsteps? And I hope the NBA is in his future too. I'm pretty sure it'll probably be in his future too. But like, that's a hard juggle, man. So how are you doing with all that?
It takes organization, to be honest, man. You know, faith, prayer, preparation, all the above. You know what I mean? I literally pray every morning when I wake up, whether it be 4:30 wake ups or my 5 a.m. wake ups. First thing I do is pray, you know, for about 25 minutes, man. I pray for organization, you know what I mean? That I don't feel stressed throughout the day and overwhelmed because I know I have a lot on my plate. And, you know, I pray for my son's day. You know what I'm saying? I want him to have a great day, you know? So that's first and foremost for me, man. It's prayer and just preparing my mind for it all, you know? But at the end of the day, man, it's not as difficult as a lot of people think, man. From my end, it's all about perspective. I've been through a lot of difficulty early on, man. I grew up in North Philly, man. I grew up in an abandoned house, for goodness sake. You know, we had graffiti on our walls and stuff, holes in the staircase. We had to pay. It was like we played hopscotch around the holes in our staircase, man. Like we had mice. We had, that's what it was. Like we used to get hype. Me and my two brothers and my sister, when our parents would bring home these large trash bags of clothes. They were donated to us from the church. Like we would sprint over to the bag, start digging through them. Like, oh, that's my Mickey Mouse, sweatshirt. Like that was life, man. So for me, now going through things like that early on in life, man, the violence that I witnessed early on. I was 10 feet away from a shooting when I was 6, man. I'll never forget it. 1991, man, I was like right there and I was the only person there. Outside the kid that got shot, and it was me right there. I thought I was going to get hit in the back when I ran, and it's, again, perspective, man. I have a knife pulled out on me when I was 9, called the N-word when it happened because I was in the wrong neighborhood. Random stuff like that, man. It makes what I go through now cakewalk. So it's, for a lot of people may be tough. Like, oh, I can't do this. I can't hit. I'm like, okay, cool. If I pursue a business transaction or a partnership and they tell me no, like straight up hard no, I'm like, all right, cool. And I have literally a note for myself on my desk, no equals next opportunity. And no, next opportunity. So, it's like, I thank God for the difficulties early in life now. It's almost like I had a vaccination early in life. Now I'm immune to the difficulty.
I didn't know that about you until today. And it kind of now it kind of makes sense because I feel like that was you. That was you as a trainer when you were by your side. Mm-hmm. If someone didn't really believe in you and your work, you're like, all right, who's next? And you put me through some workouts and I instantly died. And I was like, Joel, this is too much, but you still pushed me. And I remember those days because you were the leader that kind of picked up the young guys, right? I was a young athlete and even a young trainer at the time. And it's amazing the resiliency you develop as a youth. and
Yeah,
you
man.
go through, and it makes you appreciate what you currently have. And
Yeah.
that's your true drive as you continue to push forward. And I commend you for sharing that story with us. And it's a lot.
I got to tell you one more thing, man, because this is something that, you know, I don't overlook. You know, you asked me earlier, like, why, you know, I go as hard as I do and things of that sort. Obviously, my son.
Yeah.
A big factor since high school for me has been my brother. My brother, you know, he died when I was 17, right? My oldest brother. So for me, I literally made a promise to him, you know, that I'm going to kill it.
Yeah.
Period. You know, I remember I told my uncle. My uncle was like, "You got to find a way to pick yourself back up because he wouldn't want you to stop." So I doubled down, got myself a D1 scholarship, and I made the honor roll for the first time in my life. Like I didn't even care to make the honor roll ever until he passed, and I was like, you know, I'm gonna finally do what he's been trying to push me to do. So even today, man, that was now, man, shoot, that was 2002. So that was 19 years ago. I think about my brother literally every day. And the crazy connection is my brother, he passed away on February 16th, 2002. Right? My son was born on February 16th, 2013.
Wow.
So that it's so much that's a driving force for me, man, to where I think about, and anytime I'm kind of down or I'm feeling it, I literally, all I have to think about is that. And I'm like, I'm good. I get up and I move. That's my motivation. That's what gets me to move.
You find that one thing that truly sits in your heart,
Yeah,
and you
man.
take that. I didn't know that connection again until today. And it's funny, right? So when I was going through my scrolls and stuff, I saw your name pop up, and I'm like, I really don't know how to run this conversation with him, but I know he's filled with so much insight and so much knowledge and positivity that, like, just hearing those two things itself of your story just explains to me, one, the type of person you are and what really motivates you in life, but also why you are great at what you do. When you see hardships like that, when you see those, and I've seen my fair share of hardships plenty of times, and we've talked about it.
Right. I know.
And like we put in such hard work working for an owner that was not the nicest human being in the world, and we know that. That's why we all left as quickly. So we've been through that. But
Right.
you use your hardships and failures to enhance your value as a human being, and now you know your true value and true net, and you're kind of immune to certain things. You're immune to negativity, one, you're immune to rejections, but you built that resiliency over time. I think that's what people are doing during a time where people are very overly sensitive because of the pandemic and everything else they've been limited to and resources that. So like if we backtrack to what Joel talked about at the beginning, when they, pandemic hit, your company had a quick thinking, how fast can I get back on my feet, and how can I continue to spread my message when I'm not used to that? So getting out of that comfort zone. But you've been doing that since day one. Like since you were a kid, you've been out of that comfort zone.
I had to, man. Really.
Yeah.
When I didn't even want to, I had, I literally had to.
Absolutely. And again, man, that's an amazing story. And I think that's what I've been trying to tell a lot of my clients. And even now in PT, right, we see like people have that mindset, and we have this whole pain neurodynamic model where you look at like the psychosocial part of it and like start to dive deeper into the human being and start to dive when you think performance mentally, how are we going to charge them in? So like when we talk about your athletes, right, before you even get on the court with them, and I've seen some of the content, what you do is you speak to them first, you get them amped up and you get going. So you get their mind turning, you get a good vision of what you want, and you get them going. Yeah. Now, if we talk performance, and in your eyes, you work with a lot of youth, you've worked with some professionals, you were a professional, you're a D1 athlete. What do you think in terms of the mental capability of how much the mind plays a role in performance?
Man, amazing question, man. So last night I was on a Zoom call with about 25 kids, ages 8 to 13, okay? All around the country. So right now I'm doing some virtual Nike camp with, kids all over, literally from, Florida up to Washington State, so coast to coast. And I was talking to the kids last night about mental training. I was telling them about the importance more so of, having a strong mind toward the sport and towards its difficulties. I was letting them know you're going to have some opposition. You may have opposition as I'm training you. And I told him, I said, look, if I give you a drill or a certain objective or exercise, and you're having a tough time with it, do not stop. That's the worst thing you can do. And that's the main thing for athletes that they have to understand is when they are faced against that brick wall, not a soft little rubber wall, that brick one. I'm talking about that one that seems like it's hard to really break through. Not most, but a lot stop. Like, man, this is too tough. I'm not going to get any blisters trying to break through this wall. I'm not going to hurt my fist. I'm not going to hurt my toe trying to kick through this thing. And they don't realize that literally if they maybe take 3 steps to the right, it was a way around it. But most just stop and they just see what's right in front of them as opposed to taking a step back and zooming out for a little bit and see like, oh, it's actually not that bad. And that's what I tell athletes all the time. Stop for a moment, zoom out. Stop looking at what's right in front of your face. Because that's going to be the most stressful viewpoint you can have. If you stop, breathe, zoom out for a little bit, and you see the whole picture, at that point you say, okay, you see it from different vantage points. Yeah. You realize it's actually not that difficult. And I know that from personal experience as an athlete. Man, going through different slumps is tough. But if they can just learn how to just not stop, just grind their way through and say, okay, man, I suck right now. Sure. Okay, I do. But what can I do to get out of this, that slump and things of that sort, man? And it's so important, man, just to have the mental side, because there's so many great athletes that we will never know because they weren't mentally strong.
Yeah. The mentality, one of the strongest athletes to live the face of the earth, and you still practice his ways, but you can kind of take that advice away from athletes to everyday individuals, like stepping back from what's stressing you, step away, look at it, and attack it with a different resource. A great piece of advice. And with that, folks, we're going to take a quick break, and I'll be right back with you. Welcome back, folks. So we're sitting here with Joel Green, who's been an absolute delight of speaking to, and he shared some great stories with us, great advice, great tips. Again, Joel is the director of the Nike Pro Camps. He does pro level training. He's a great trainer, former basketball player, still plays ball. He's been a great friend for me. And again, just such a positive human being to be around. Just recently did a TED Talk, and on the break, we were talking about him giving you his 3 pieces of advice. And if you haven't watched his TED Talk, definitely do it. I've seen it. So I'm not going to tell you what the advice is going to be on. I'm going to just let him have the floor. It's all you, bro, and just lay it out for us.
All right. So I'll give you guys exactly what the 3 points that I gave in the TED Talk. The TED Talk itself was about bringing about more equality. And I provided 3 steps to help bring about equality. However, these 3 steps, they can be provided and applied to life, period. So the first step as far as this to help you guys to persevere, to get beyond, the onset even of failure, just to kind of even see these things coming and to help you guys to get beyond those things and stay motivated and inspired is I always tell people to first have a childlike imagination. And the reason why I say to have a childlike type of imagination is because children, they don't know, they're like oblivious to the impossible. You know what I mean? They have no clue what can't be done. So if you carry that type of mindset and that level of imagination as a kid, as a child, then you'll actually make yourself ignorant to what's impossible. And that's where we need to be as adults, because we're too stranded and we're too stuck in our place as, because of statistics and, difficulties of other people. We think, okay, that must be our difficulty. And that's not the case. You need to be like a kid and say, no, it's possible. I can get out of this rut. I can do X, Y, Z. This hurts, but you know what? Maybe this or that can happen. So you have to kind of think like a kid. You ask a kid how to get to the moon, I guarantee you they'll tell you a way to get to the moon. Even if it sounds silly, they'll tell you a way. And that's what I love about children. They really, their minds are so engaging. And we lose that as we get older, but we need to regain it. So first, have a childlike imagination and see yourself out of whatever you're going through. That's the first thing, because if you can't see it, it's going to be hard to step into it. Step number 2 is something that I've never heard anybody say. I've been telling people this, since I kind of formulated my primary talk back in 2015. And I always tell people to need their wants. And this is a really important step for you guys, because this is the area. This is the determination, the drive step. This is what gets you moving. And the reason why I say to need your wants is because we'll always say that we want stuff. We want all these things, but we don't realize how optional our wants are. You know what I mean? Like if you don't get what you want, you're cool. You'll be all right. You don't even realize it until you don't get it. Like, oh, I can move on. But when you don't get something that you need, oh, that scars you. That hits you deep. So like you have to begin to need, your wants, like convert that want over to a need and watch how your pursuit changes. Like you'll start chasing that thing down as if you can't do without it. And you'll start to see the difference between the two pursuits. Like when you want something, you'll ease after it. When you need something, you attack it. Like if you need, $200 in your right pocket by this time tomorrow, I can guarantee you will have it if you needed it. Now, I will hope that everybody does it legally, but no matter what, I can guarantee that people will have it in their right pocket. If you wanted it, you'll probably come up short and have like $199.99.
Yeah.
So just realize that I want you guys to start needing your wants a little bit more, make that conversion as opposed to just always saying, I want this and I want that, and not realizing that your wants are optional and you'll come up short more often than not. So that's step number 2. First, have that childlike imagination. Then number 2, need your wants. My third bit of advice, the third step is to focus on the journey, guys. You got to focus on the journey because everything in life is about a process. I mean, once you break a certain age, everything has a process. You know what I mean? It's like it's not as clear cut as it used to be when we were kids, because when we were kids, things were given to us. We didn't have to earn things that much. But the moment you break probably 14, 15 years old, the process began. We had to start earning stuff. You know what I mean? And expectations came about. Accountability was now attached to our name. So, focus on the journey of it all. Don't be too focused on the end result of it. Don't stress yourself out about the end result. That's really not that important. People come to me and say, oh man, you've done this, you've done that, you've been on TV, commercials, TV show, all this stuff. And like, man, you're really successful. I'm like, I don't even focus on that. I just enjoy the process of it. I enjoy the journey. My whole objective is, okay, get in, do what I do, focus on today. Tomorrow is going to take care of itself. So, don't stress yourself thinking about too much about tomorrow or, what next year is going to bring. Focus on enjoying today. Do great things today, but that's going to prepare yourself for tomorrow. That's going to take care of itself. You'll have the things that you want, but you got to focus on the journey and just, what I like to tell people is to have success of success. And that simply means have success today. When today is gone and tomorrow comes, have success again that next day. Don't focus too much on the road ahead. You know what I mean? Just focus on today, and that's going to help you build on the next day. And it's going to bring everything you want no matter what. So those are my 3 steps, guys, my 3 tidbits, to have that childlike imagination, to need your wants, and to focus on the journey.
I don't even know if I can ever close out a show after those 3 tips coming from you, but those are great piece of advices. And I think, like he said, it goes past an athlete, it goes past the individual, it goes to anyone that really wants to change their life for the better. And you truly have a focus on a goal and vision and utilizing that, right? I have never heard of using my childhood imagination, going in that process and changing my wants and needs. I've done that plenty of times in my life without even realizing it or having someone else do it. And it makes a difference in how successful you do become. And the beauty of it is, if you were listening to us for the last 30 minutes, when you listen to his story, when you listen to everything he said to you, and even his piece of advice is, at no point did he ever chase success for the dollar amount, or at no point did he chase success for a certain paycheck. Those all followed. What he truly chased was setting an example for his boy, setting an example from what his brother wanted him to do, and being successful for the man he is, but making a better life for himself so he can better life the generation of him that comes after. And that was what truly drove the success point. So having that die hard inside, a motivation factor that touches your heart, is always going to help you. And now it's like stepping away from yourself and realizing on what to really focus on. I think we get so worked up in life to chase success that we start to focus on a million things.
Yeah.
Look at his life, and if Joel came out and he wasn't focused on just the basketball camp at one point and just this his son at one point. And I'm pretty sure at one point in your life you were purely focused on your boy. I remember those days. And then
Absolutely.
out of nowhere you came in, and that's the beauty of it. And that's when you take his piece of advice: focus on the journey at hand. And the journey for him could be just focusing on his son, that journey of watching him grow, then watching his business develop. So Joel, I thank you again for the bottom of my heart. Thank you for coming on. I know you're a busy guy, and we got you in at the perfect time with no script, no nothing. I just came at you, and here we are today. So
I appreciate it, man.
It was a true delight, and I hope to have you on again for sure.
Of course, man. Of course. Appreciate it, kid.
And